Government aid is a very useful program for those of us who aren't able to get a job or are injured to the point where they can't work. And while this is very good for them, there are many people who abuse the system and only have government aid because they don't want to get a job. There are several people on government aid that are addicted to drugs, and they use the money the government gives them to get more drugs, which is a poor usage of government money. To counter that, I think that the government should force people on government aid to do drug tests periodically throughout their time on it. And here are a few reasons why. As I was reading on cato.org, in 2013, the Census Bureau stated that there were 105,862,000 full-time workers in the United States. They also stated that those full-time workers were outnumbered by an incredible 109,631,000 people who were getting government assistance. This means that every person who paid taxes in 2013 would have to pay for a few more people. Now that doesn't sound bad, but when many of those people are using your taxpayer dollars to buy drugs, then it becomes a problem. According to drugfree.org, in 2011 in Florida, out of the 8,628 people who applied for welfare benefits, over 1,600 people who refused to take a drug test. Officially, less than 1% of the people who were tested positive for drugs, but when over 1,600 people refused to take the test, how positive can we be that it was less than 1% of the applicants who were on drugs? If we assume that the 1,600 people who refused to be tested were on drugs, then that means that about 20% of people who applied would have failed the test. Would you want your taxpayer dollars going to fuel their bad habits? If there are many reasons to drug test government aid recipients. For example, why must people in the workforce be forced to take drug tests when people on welfare aren't? If those of us who have to work for our money are to be held up to a certain standard of livelihood, then is it not reasonable to hold those of us who don't work for their money to the same standards? If welfare recipients were forced to take periodic drug tests, then they wouldn't be able to spend money on drugs, or they would lose their government assistance, and they wouldn't have any money. While that's not a good thing to have happen to someone, it's necessary to keep Americans off of drugs. Another reason is that if people who are on drugs couldn't get them, then they'd be forced to clean up their act, and then they would be able to get off of government assistance, and they could contribute to society, they could better themselves.